So the most intelligent thing said in the last week about Nelson Mandela on national TV came from, of all places, the Reverend Al Sharpton. So here's what Al Sharpton had to say on NBC's Meet the Press this past weekend. And I have to say, I haven't heard anyone say anything more intelligent anywhere. Forget national TV, cable, radio, print, you name it. He says specifically that he's sick and tired of the sugarcoating of America's mixed history towards Nelson Mandela. He said, quote, "There was a real battle in this country. So when Randall Robinson and Maxine Waters and Reverend Jackson led that fight, they were attacked for supporting communism when all of them supported Nelson Mandela. Let's remember the ANC, they were pursuing freedom. Many of the communist nations embraced them. This country, meaning the U.S., did not. It was not like they were born Marxists. They were born people seeking to be free. Some of the Marxist nations, either genuinely or in a self-interested way, tried to embrace that. This country did not, and fought that, and denounced them, and denigrated them. And I think for us now to sugarcoat that is a betrayal of history. We chose sides. We chose the wrong side." Al Sharpton has said it beautifully, intelligently, with historical accuracy, and it pretty much sums up what this United States did. Let's not sugarcoat things. Jesse Helms called this guy a terrorist, a communist, a Marxist, turned his back on him. Now you have people like Ted Cruz saying, "Hey, I got into politics because I agree with everything with everything Jesse Helms said, but oh, of course Mandela's a great guy." No, Ted, you can't have it both ways. Let them eat cake. That's basically the sentiment of Senator Rand Paul regarding those who are on unemployment. Now, this isn't my assessment. This is what Joe Scarborough, the conservative Republican, who I know is now called a rhino by Tea Party people because he occasionally has a disagreement with what conservative Republicans say. But Rand Paul famously said yesterday, on Sunday, that it was a disservice to workers to give them unemployment. And that if they just had no money coming in, they would go out and hustle harder and get more jobs. Now, this conveniently ignores the fact that we have millions of more Americans right now than there are jobs. And at some point, it doesn't matter how hard you look, how hard you work trying to find a job. If there simply are no jobs, it has nothing to do with your own personal initiative. Joe Scarborough gets this. He finds this contemptuous. John Huntsman, another actually conservative Republican, although he appears to be moderate when you put him next to extremist, says that this is really about Rand Paul pandering to the Republican base for primary time in 2016. So here's what George Will had to say about Obama. Quote, "The education of this president is a protracted, amusing process." End of quote. George, here's a little advice for you. Why sugarcoat things? Why not just call him boy? One of the things that's so disgusting and sickening and despicable about conservatives in this country is their absolute withering contempt for Barack Obama as a human being. Now, I'm not saying it's just racism, because goodness knows conservatives are contemptuous of white Democrats and white moderates as well. But this idea that he's just he's just ignorant, just uneducated, just stupid. Not that we have honest policy differences. Not that a conservative could actually be intellectually honest and say, okay, we're conservatives, we would like this conservative policy enacted, but Obama is a moderate and he has enacted a moderate policy. We're going to work harder in the next election to convince people our way is the... No, that's not what they're doing. What they're doing is saying that because Barack Obama institutes moderate policies, and because he's played by the rules his whole life, gone to college, gone to law school, Harvard Law School, editor of the Harvard, worked hard, kept his nose clean, worked his way up our society. Because he's done all that, well, we're not going to give him credit for any of that. We're just going to say contemptuously, he's ignorant, he's stupid, he's a fool, he's ignorant, he's an ignoramus practically. That's the sentiment of George Will. Now, folks, there have been times when we have had ignorant presidents. And we have had presidents who were not intellectually curious, i.e. Ronald Reagan, George W. Bush. But they were given so much more respect by the vast, vast mainstream media establishment, and even the liberal media establishment, the few that are out there. It wasn't this constant, condescending viewpoint that those presidents were just too uneducated, too stupid to even be president. Yeah, sure. There were comments about how Reagan had no respect for facts. But there wasn't this constant sense that it was illegitimate for him to even be president. And that's what many of us find so utterly contemptible about George Will and everyone at Fox and Rush and Drudge. Some good news in the media, and I criticize the media as much as anyone, but criticism doesn't really have much credibility unless you point out what works, what's good, not just what's bad. So hats off to CNN's Jake Tapper. He did a story sort of mocking Vice President Joe Biden and making him look like some kind of a sexist fool for speaking to Japanese women, saying, do your husbands like you working full time? And this was seen as another gaffe. Oh my goodness, Joe Biden committing another gaffe. And Joe Biden did that. Jake Tapper. Folks, everyone can make mistakes, not just Joe Biden. Jake Tapper made this mistake of trying to pigeonhole this into another gaffe. Well, it turns out, if you look at the context of what Biden says, it wasn't a gaffe at all. Biden was on a tour of Japan, and Japan is apparently instituting some whole campaign trying to get women to work less and out of the workforce. So what Biden was asking was a complete, fair, appropriate question. Jake Tapper, to his credit, apologized. He explained the larger context and admitted that he was wrong, and his idea of painting Biden as this fool and this bungling oaf was a false image. So hats off to Jake Tapper.